Thanks very much. It's great to have the opportunity to speak here today. Thanks, Tony, for that, and to meet the other panelists as well. I'm going to give this presentation under the assumption that there may well be a few of you who have never heard of a MOOC. So bear with me if you are some kind of MOOC expert. In fact, we might turn to you if there's questions. My company, SIPX, is a new company. It was just born a few weeks before the Frankfurt Book Fair last year, but it's been in operation at Stanford for a while. Our main focus is traditional courses, but we did work on some of the earlier MOOCs. So if you want to know about how SIPX works with other courses, I'm happy to talk about that afterwards. But that's not the topic of this talk. So if you think MOOC is an unfortunate acronym, I have to say it a lot more than you do. But what is a MOOC? A MOOC could be a massive open online course. It could be a combination of these things, and increasingly it could be actually none of these things. Actually coined in Canada, you'll see there's a little bit of a sci-fi theme that runs through this talk. It's kind of a nice matchup with the talk that Hugh gave yesterday. So again, in 2008, but didn't really hit the mainstream until last year. So there were, however, many precursors to things that we would call a MOOC today. Correspondence schools, long tradition in history, particularly here in the UK. Attempts to educate everyone by radio and later television. And of course, online and distance education, quite widespread. Now, I had an opportunity when I was a kid to participate in a MOOC-like experience. Back in the 70s, when there was a power crisis, they closed down all the schools in Columbus, Ohio for about 6 weeks. And we went to school one day a week and we watched our other courses on television. This is actually the Columbus Dispatch mini page for the kids, and why they felt they should highlight these particular children who got to go to school in a bar, I'm not sure, but we actually did go to a regular school. So there are many terms in use for MOOCs. The connectivity MOOC, which were those MOOCs that they had coined in Canada, which were much more collaborative in nature. The experiential MOOCs, which is really what we talk about primarily now with the video lectures on YouTube. And lots of efforts to try to come up with a better acronym. I'm not sure if any of these are actually better, and they all have completely different meanings. But my favorite one is actually the SPOC, or Small Private Online Course. I would be happy if I could get up here and just talk about SPOCs. So alternately, depending on which way the wind is blowing in a particular day, we love MOOCs. You can see the frenzy grow throughout the course of 2012 and 2011. 2012 and 2013, where am I? And there's a lot of fear if you don't get involved early on that you might miss the boat. And then the next day we hate MOOCs. We're sick of MOOCs. We never want to hear about them again. You can't see it. It's very tiny at the bottom, but it says no printing, copying, or keeping allowed. And here are the star professors taking over the world, swallowing up things. So yeah, we're sick of MOOCs. One of my favorites, Coursera jumps the shark back in spring. The MOOC racket. Post-MOOC era already. Who knew it? We're all post-MOOC. And then my favorite one recently, anti-MOOC, is really the new black. So if that's the case, and MOOCs are done, then really, why are we here today? I think we're moving into a phase beyond the original MOOCs, which had a heavy focus on open educational resources, and then surprise again this week, we're back there, to the MOOC 2.0, which is really the Coursera and larger edX platforms, the video-oriented, towards something where MOOCs could be seen as a component that you as an instructor might choose to use bits and pieces here and there that suit your needs. And so really more of a tool than something that is going to necessarily completely change things. Just a quick overview of the main providers. You have to forgive me that I gave them a new version of this talk, and this is actually not the most up-to-date slides. But the important thing to take away here is that edX is nonprofit, unlike the other two large ones which are venture funded, and of course announcing this week a large collaboration with Google to build open source platforms. These aren't the only games in town though. There's of course many other players. Some of these are online educational services that work with degree granting programs. Some are educational service providers actually owned by publishers. Deltac there, which is a Wiley company. Some of them focus on practical education or practical skills, and others are more oriented towards the collaboration with different LMS services. Of course, Google being in this mix now as well. And there are regional players as well. Of course, a large initiative launching this fall here in the UK with FutureLearn, claiming already pre-registrants from more than 140 countries, so quite impressive. A range of other regional entrants, the Viduca, the Latin American entry there, actually one of the portfolio of Macmillan's digital science group. iVersity, which is trying to create itself as the European-wide MOOC. A new player in the scene, Edison, which is an initiative funded out of Russia. And my personal favorite from Japan, SCOO. And here you show how the unique local sort of culture feeds its way into the MOOCs. I just love the SCOO homepage. So the big challenge, of course, with MOOCs is, do they have a business model? Depends on who you ask and which day. You do see a lot of things talked about, potentially academic credit. I'm not sure yet what the uptake is going to be there. Certificates at the end, gamification. I just became the mayor of this place on Foursquare this morning, so I'm big into the badges, and we also have the mayor of the big tent sitting in the front row there. Coursera claims to have made about $500,000 so far on their signature track, so actually verifying that the folks who have signed up for the course are taking it. And there's other companies trying to get in the game in terms of proctored exams to reduce cheating. I had crossed out the leads for job recruiters because recently Coursera backed off because, surprise, surprise, each company who wanted to do recruiting had customized requirements that they wanted. But Udacity has popped up now saying that they're actually making quite a bit. They typically have a little bit of a narrow focus in their subjects, so that might be something more workable for them. One of the more recent announcements, which I've been waiting for, is a focus on high school students. Where I live, and probably where you live too, parents would probably pay any amount of money to have their kid take a course at their school of choice if they thought that would actually help get them into that program. We're also seeing AP courses, and a lot of the MCAT prep for medical school is actually taking place in a MOOC-like environment now. And you also see competency-based learning, which is a growing trend. So the MOOCs are definitely still multiplying, even though we're post-MOOC, supposedly. You see different universities trying to get involved in course licensing and brand extension. You also see pushback on that, which we'll talk about in just a second. And there's a lot of university pressure. The real drivers here are most likely the administrators and the politicians, rather than either the faculty or the students, although there seems to be interest from those groups. My husband's a professor, and he'll go on and on about how this definitely wouldn't be the best scenario for his students, seeing as they're first generation to go to college, and they really need a lot of personal help. But when it comes down to it, sadly, at the end of the day, it's not usually the faculty who decide on these new initiatives. A lot of them are no-bid processes, which violates every rule that the university has in place, but these agreements are happening all the time. But there are also opportunities to take advantage of faculty across multiple campus locations, and I know here in the UK, there's a lot of schools with satellite campuses in the Middle East and in Asia, and this type of an environment might increase opportunities on that side. Just a few more reasons. I spoke about the high school students, but on the other end of the spectrum, continuing education, whether you're a lifelong learner who's just interested in learning something new, or whether you need advanced certification. CME, for us, of course, is a very interesting side of this, and I'm looking at maybe doing a pilot on that. A lot of these programs are kind of morphing and overlapping with master's level courses. And Jack Welch, I think, as far as I've heard, is the only celebrity to offer a MOOC so far. I don't think Donald Trump's going to jump into the game, considering he's already under indictment for his Trump University. But corporate training, they're quite interested when you sit in your 3-day orientation when you start in a new company, in putting that online and allowing you to go at kind of a self-pace. We all know that there's a very small number of students who actually finish the courses, but I think as publishers and content providers, there's opportunities to sell to students even if they are there just to take a look. I'm going to go over this really quickly because this is one of the slides I took out. A lot of people who take MOOCs do already have degrees. They're just kind of dipping in to test the waters. They may be faculty thinking about a MOOC, they just want to check out what the competition is doing. But a lot of the tools are really not now optimized for this scenario. A lot of the content might be repurposed and not designed specifically for the course. Peer review and peer grading is, of course, a continuing challenge. And even if the course is free, there may be costs around the content, there may be costs around the certificate, lots of things, so maybe not truly free in every case. So why is this relevant to publishers? And I really believe that it is. Courses are expanding to cover every conceivable topic. I've seen music MOOCs, art MOOCs. There's even a MOOC announced recently that focuses on the television program The Walking Dead, if you're a zombie fan. So something for everyone. And many of the business models are actually, if you're going to actually get something at the end of the course, they're going to encourage the students to actually purchase content, if that's the best content for that subject area. And they're increasingly just an extension of what happens on campuses. So you'll see universities developing their own MOOC platforms, offering them out, but also MOOCs that join together schools, either in a certain consortia, a certain geographical region, offering languages together that they couldn't offer separately, or allowing faculty collaborations that wouldn't have been possible before. And really, for publishers, it's an opportunity to experiment around some new business models without the need to invest in your own platform or to badger your host into doing that. So SIPX has been working with MOOCs since last year, and we just wanted to present a few early reflections on that process. One of the key things has been understanding the relationship with the universities. So typically there is a university connection with most of these MOOCs, and only the students at that institution are entitled to benefit from any licensed holdings that that school has. So if you take a typical class, 40,000 students in a Coursera course, 50 Stanford students, only those 50 students benefit from Stanford licenses. But we look forward to a time where you could have a Harvard student taking a University of Texas MOOC, and what he pays for his course kind of depends on what Harvard has licenses to. An Ohio State student, which I use as an example because that's my school, takes the same course, and what she pays for her readings would depend on what her school has licenses for, including Copyright Clearance Center licenses, which would be recognized in the system. It's a big matter of education for the faculty and the publishers. The faculty need to understand that it might well not be possible to get everything for free, and publishers need to understand that they can't charge $85,000 because there may be 80,000 students in the course. So it breaks all of the existing models that we're used to. And it's very important to tell the students ahead of time that there's going to be content for purchase so that they don't get to that reading page and face some shock and surprise that that's expected. I'm seeing amongst not just publishers but also agents and estates a willingness to experiment around pricing content, and the analytics that can come back at the end of the day can be quite interesting. At SIPX we manage differential pricing, so we could charge students according to their affiliations, according to their geographic location or not. There will come a time when you go online and you're going to look for content and it will know if you're a member of a certain society, or whether you have a discount club or something. All of these things are going to be possible under new business models that are being created for MOOCs. A lot of analytics can come back. I mentioned geography. We can also do comparisons, title in a MOOC versus comparison in a traditional course. We keep all of our publisher data anonymous, but we can benchmark the performance of your content against similar publishers. We can look into more detail at one title, or we can map things according to subject area or course. This is just a couple of example analytic slides that take into consideration geography. So different ways that publishers can work with MOOCs. There's those true MOOCs where either the content might be provided for free or paid for by the university or even by a sponsor. Intra-system MOOCs, like I mentioned. Increasingly these online programs, and I wanted to highlight a few here that I thought would be of interest to publishers, but these are just a few. The satellite campus access that I mentioned, alumni access, which I know is a hot topic but problematic in the implementation, and really looking at content distributed through MOOCs as just another discovery channel. So where do we go from here? Do this one in just for Terry. Is it the end of college? Is it elite schools only? Coursera broke their own rule back in the spring. That's why they presumably jumped the shark. A lot of schools have said they're going to hold off. They don't want to dilute their brand. The real difference now between what happened 5 years ago in distance education is you do have large ed tech companies that are often selling their services to the school, getting the students to actually pay to take courses through the school, and then charging the school to create the courses using the faculty. So there's a lot of schools that are unhappy about that Silicon Valley involvement on the platform side, and they would like to see schools be more in the driver's seat. The faculty have raised some concerns. Do they own these courses when they offer them on the platform? Are they putting other faculty out of work? How do you improve the pass rates of these MOOCs? Connectivity and censorship issues, not to mention accessibility, which we learned a little bit about earlier today in our session. And how does this fit with movements towards uncollege, flipped college, I say shredded college is going to be the next thing. But I think it's interesting to look at what lessons there might be, not just for universities and professors, but for publishers as well. There was a pushback from San Jose State University philosophy professors. They didn't want to use this Harvard philosophy course, and they wrote this letter, this open letter, saying that professors who care about public education should not produce products that will replace professors. And there was an interesting response in the THE, which I think we can all take to heart, and the real quote mentions there's no moral law forbidding the replacement of professors, and hasn't travel agents and all these things that obviously are being replaced. So professors need to show that they are irreplaceable, and I think we talk a lot about the need for publishers or libraries, or insert your noun there. So if we are not to be replaced, we need to show that we're irreplaceable. One might think recently with a lot of the news that it's really game over. As I said, I had to send these slides in. Lots of buzz continuing around Coursera, but then this week came back edX and Udacity roaring out, both announcing collaborative efforts on the open source side of things, so we'll like to see a run for their money there. Think again. I found this lovely quote, which just happens to be from Simon Nelson of FutureLearn, so I thought it would be appropriate in this circumstance. This was in response to someone paraphrasing Daphne Kohler, that she said that, or somebody said that Coursera was going to be the Amazon of this, and he was saying, anyone who thinks the rules of engagement have already been written is underestimating the potential of this technology. And to just finish with the sci-fi theme, because I think every presentation goes better with Douglas Adams' quote, let us think the unthinkable, let us do the undoable, let us prepare to grapple with the ineffable itself, and see if we may not F it after all. So thank you very much.